Hello, Curry County. Welcome back to our series on Things I Wish I Knew. I'm Mindy Turner, your Family and Consumer Science agent here in Curry County. We are a branch of New Mexico State University right out here, extending the resources and the research-based information from the university out to you in your community. So we've started a new series talking about things I wish I knew, and some of it is not just what I wish I knew, but things I used to know that I just don't always use like I should. So over the last several months, we've seen a couple different 4-H members do demonstrations on how to measure for your baking. And we just recently did a baking workshop for some of our 4-H youth. And what that served to do for me was remind me of all the shortcuts that I take and all of the things I do. Yeah, I know how to measure. I know how to cook. I know how to bake. I grew up doing that with my grandmothers. And I tend to take a lot of shortcuts. With things that you make a lot, that can be okay. Like I said, I grew up baking with my grandmother, and she never measured. And I remember my great-grandmother never measuring anything. A couple things, though. They baked every day. They baked the same things over and over. They had a feel for it. They knew what they were looking at, what they were doing. Things that I make a lot, or again, that I grew up making with them, I don't always have to measure. I can get a pretty good feel. It's okay to take a few shortcuts here and there. But when I try new recipes, particularly when I'm trying out things that I want to share with you across the county, it's important that we measure and that we measure correctly to get that to work. Because a lot of times, I don't know how many of you have actually tried a new recipe and been like, why does this not work? It sounded so good. Or I tried it at a friend's house and it was wonderful. And really, when we go back and look at that, it's because, yeah, first of all, maybe we didn't adjust it for the altitude like we should have. Refer to last month's newsletter for information about that. And then a lot of times it's just that I took a shortcut somewhere. And so the chemistry and what needed to happen within that recipe didn't get to happen. So let's look at the basic things. And of course, you're all rolling your eyes and you're like, Mindy, we already know this. These are your reminders. And I'm going to encourage you to take that recipe that you've been having an issue with, go back and do it properly. And then one of the things, my son is very interested in baking. He's done a lot of it through his 4-H project, and he does a beautiful job. And everyone's like, oh, he's such a good baker. How did that happen? And I have to stop and think, well, it's because when I taught him to do it, I taught him to do the things correctly. And his mind is methodical enough that it remembers and it lines things out that way. So stuff turns out better because it's measured, you have the correct ingredients, and it all gels just like it's supposed to. So let's look really quick at some of the different types of utensils that you're going to use when you measure. Of course, measuring cups and measuring spoons. There's always this great debate because, of course, we have dry ingredient measuring cups and wet ingredient measuring cups. Things like flour, sugar, whatever, cornstarch, whatever you might need to do that's a dry ingredient. And then your wet ingredients, water, milk, oil, syrups, things like that that are going to go in there. Is there a difference in the size? A lot of people will say, well, they don't measure the same. You're measuring volume. So mathematically, a cup is a cup. The issue is in the design, okay, not the size, but it's how they're made and what they're made to do. So think about if you fill this up with water, to get to a cup, you've got to go all the way to the top. And then you're probably going to spill a little, or you're going to stop just a little shy of what you really need, trying not to spill a little. Whereas when you put a liquid into a cup like this, even if you go all the way to the 1 cup, I'm not sure I can get this glass where you can read it. If you go all the way to the 1 cup at the top, you've still got this much space, airspace at the top, where you're going to be able to go, okay, yes, that's exactly how much I want, and not worry about spilling it out because you've come out even. Okay, the other thing that's important, it's nice when you do these type, if you can have something clear. We see a lot of hard plastic or glass that's clear and see-through. The reason for that is it's really hard to get lined up right on these lines. So you're going to want to have something clear that you can look into so that when you get ready to measure whatever liquid, okay, and today, like I said, I just have water, and I know it's not as easy to see, but you're going to want to fill it up. Let's say we do want a whole cup of water. to the 1 cup line, and then get eye level with that cup to make sure that it's even. And if you have a little too much, take a little out. If you're not quite there, add a little in. But you're going to end up with the exact amount that you need for whatever that liquid happens to be. So that's where it's nice if you do have a larger one. If you need, this goes all the way up to 4 cups. If you need 2 cups, you can measure it right in here. Make sure that it's even, and you've got the amount you need. The other thing that's nice about these is if you need 2 cups, say it's 2 cups of flour, and then you're going to add that directly in here, and then you can just keep adding things to this one and even use it as an extra mixing bowl or go over it, okay? So that's one of the things that's by design. So the volume doesn't actually change, but it's the design that's made for that. So I think where we all really struggle and we take those extra shortcuts is more in our dry ingredients. So there are, again, different types. They make all kinds of things that you can use with all kinds of materials to be able to, I like these that are hooked together, so I know I have my various sizes. Metal ones are great to have because, again, that just reminds me of growing up and having those types of things on hand. These are actually marked up the side, so you can see where this actually measures a cup, but it tells me on here, and it goes all the way through because it's engraved in there, but to the inside, 1/4 cup, 1/3 cup, 1/2 cup. So you can actually use this for multiple things as well. These are designed to have, get one of the bigger ones where you can see it. Again, this goes all the way up to a cup level at the top, but it's ridged as you go up. So each individual, you can see where it kind of curves in there. Each individual ridge measures a different measurement. So for instance, if you go up just to the first lip is 1/4 cup, to the second lip is 1/2 cup, all the way to the top is a cup. So that, again, can be something really handy depending on what type of measuring you're doing. For simplicity, because again, the hard thing about this is getting it level and making sure you actually have the measurement that you're trying to get. So when we talk about measuring things to be the appropriate amount, there's some things that we can do. Now, it's always tempting, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is how I typically tend to do it. Whatever ingredient we need, this looks like a perfect scoop, so we just scoop it out of there. For some things, that's great. For some things, it's better to not. So actually, it's always better, if you can, to spoon your ingredient into the cup. Don't pack it or smash it, because things that are fluffy are typically meant to be fluffy, aerated. You want to get that air through there so that it's light, that whatever that ingredient is becomes active with that air moving through it. And then when you get to the top, something with a straight edge could be, and this is just a spatula, butter knife works great. You want to use the flat side to do it, and just take it and scoot it on across there. Sometimes I have to tap it to make sure it all settles down in there, but where it's level. And then that's measured out as exactly the amount that you need. Okay, and you remember, back over your original container, over a separate bowl, not over your mixing bowl that you're actually making your items in. Okay, because I've seen that happen. Kind of defeats the whole purpose. So you want to make sure that you're actually using the appropriate amounts of whatever. Same thing with sugar. Now sugar's one because it's granular sugar as opposed to a powdered thing, but it is easy to just kind of scoop it out of there, and that's okay, to try to make sure you get it good and full. And again, you want to make sure that it's level. Now, I have this, and it's not quite up to the top because I'm scooping out of this smaller bowl. So I'm going to add a little to make sure we get there. Sugar's another thing. We always think about how it adds the flavor because we like the sweet stuff. But a lot of sugar's job is activating other ingredients. So you need to make sure that your sugar is appropriate for the chemistry of how your items are going together. So making sure that that's leveled off to do that. Okay, so same thing when we talk about measuring our ingredients with the measuring spoons. Now again, I'll get asked this question a lot. Well, so are there wet measuring spoons and dry measuring spoons. Not really. There's what you prefer and what works well for you. These are actually ridged just like the cups, where you can actually, if you go all the way to the top, it's a teaspoon. If you fill to the first ridge, it's half a teaspoon. And that gives you a little leeway as to not spill. And you can do that a lot of times, like we talked about with these, with a liquid. So for instance, if I wanted to measure my vanilla over a separate bowl, not the bowl that I'm going to actually be using, I can pour it in there slow and easy, right up even with that ridge. And I know I have half a teaspoon and I have a little leeway, so I'm not going to spill it. Okay, but I can also do that same thing, I'm just going to leave that right there, with one with a flat top, as long as I'm doing it over some other type of container, so that I'm not adding extra into whatever I'm trying to make. Okay, some actual containers, for instance, with a lot of times with your baking powder, what you're going to see is that it's made on the side to help you out with leveling that off. So it's made with an edge that you just use to level your spoon off right there. If you don't have that, or if you're doing some other type of an ingredient, you're still going to want to use that straight edge to level off that item so that your ingredients are correct. Okay, again, we're talking about this because these are a lot of the things that I shortcut and then can't figure out exactly, hey, where did that go? Salt, kind of like with sugar, it's one of those things that for the chemistry of it all, to make it all work together, you're going to need. So a lot of even our sweet recipes call for a little bit of salt. So you're going to want to make sure that most of these you're going to pour, that you're pouring it over something, get it filled up. Okay, it's going to be really hard to pour it in there and get it stopped dead even. So we're going to then use it to measure that off right across the top, level, good to go. We have the correct amount of salt to put into our product. So anything that we measure, measuring it correctly and appropriately is going to be important. And you always hear when we're building and working on stuff, measure twice, cut once. It's going to be kind of the same thing with your food. Measure twice, bake it once. You're going to have a much better product than you expected or typically might have had. So think about some of the things you wish you knew. You can go onto our website and submit a question, or of course you can always call us here at the Extension office. We'll be glad to get that information for you. We also provide a newsletter every 2 months. It has all of the information that's contained in these videos, as well as other things going around in our county and with our extension clubs. So if you'd like to receive that, go to our website, curryextension.nmsu.edu, click on Family Health and Wellness Request Newsletter. You can choose to get that hard copy or over email. We'd love to share that. That's also where you can click on Ask a Question, and we will be able to look at those questions and hopefully provide you a response. And sometimes that may trigger what our next video series will even be about. Join us next time. We're going to talk a little more about some tips and things that you wish you knew. And again, I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service. Have a great day.